Hello gamers, today I'm going to be checking out something that I was unaware existed, that being Dead Island Riptide. Now, I've talked about Dead Island 2 on the channel in the past, where I mentioned that I was also a massive fan of Dead Island 1, but I didn't talk about Riptide as I was somehow unaware it was a thing, which I don't really know how I didn't, as I love Dead Island 1 and every article on Dead Island 2 during its long development I would read with bated breath. But hey, maybe there's a reason I never found out about the game. Now, the best way to figure out why I didn't hear about the game is to look into the marketing behind the game, which seemingly had a lot more of a muted marketing campaign compared to Dead Island 1. To be honest, the only thing I can find out about it is that there was a collector's edition called the Zombie Bait Edition, which came with a female zombie torso, which generated some news at the time. I should add that the female zombie torso was in a bikini, because of course it was. But apart from that, the marketing seemed fainted compared to its bigger brother. It also probably didn't help that the game was released right before the release of the next gen consoles at the time. These times of games also have a habit of getting lost in the shuffle. There are some real hidden gems to be found in those periods. So is this game one of them? Well, let's talk about it, and the best way to start of course is with the game. Well, it is made by the same team that made the OG and in the exact same engine. Riptide was originally planned as a DLC for the original game, but seemingly ballooned into being big enough to become a standalone title or sort of subtitle. That, or they filled it with enough pointless things to get the game out. We may never know, or we may be able to tell pretty quickly after launching up the game, but before I get into that, let's quickly do some housekeeping. The game takes place right after the conclusion of the story in the first game, as the gang land on a boat with the helicopter running low on fuel. So the game has the same people as the first one, including everyone's favourite Mr. Who Do You Voodoo. There is a inclusion of one more person to the pool of playable characters. A character by the name of John, a hand-to-hand expert and ex-military cook. But of course, one of those people running the boat is evil, which ends with the boat crashing onto an island which also has the zombie outbreak happening, with the gang less than happy about being in basically the same situation they were mere weeks ago. But apart from that, what else is there to know about the game? Well, since it was originally a DLC for Dead Island, it has the same skill tree as DI1, even having the option to port your character saves from that game. However, I've never played Dead Island on the PC yet, as for me it was more of a 360 game. And apart from that, the game also has the same weapon / crafting system where you can upgrade or repair your weapons as they take damage in time during combat, making that weapon weaker and do less damage. And then of course you can add your mods for an increase in damage or other stats depending on the mod / element type. But it's about time we check out the story of Riptide. So, like all zombie games, in my mind they need to fall into the stupid fun category of games, which Dead Island 1 fits in perfectly, with tiny bits of lore sprinkled in so you don't get bored sometimes. And so, does this game have that? Well, kind of. They do add a bit of lore behind the zombie infection, mainly that has been around much longer than first thought, and maybe human created. That, and there are some chemicals in some tunnels from World War II that seem to make the immune more aware of their Fury Beast mode. Even though I use it a lot during the game, so I don't know how my character didn't know about it. But after the boat crashes on the tropical island that's a part of the same archipelago as the resort, the gang need to find another way out after meeting up with a researcher from the World Health Organization and the army leader from the boat, who at first they were less than happy to see, but they grow closer to a Mr. Sam Hardy. They decide that they need to get to the nearby town of Henderson, as Sam has mentioned that there's a military base there who can hopefully help them stop the company that releases the virus, and now plans on nuking the island to hide their involvement. But it's a long trip to Henderson. First we need to find a boat to get past the flooded parts of the island, as there's a monsoon season recently. But after using the boat to check that the further ahead road is also out and intraversable, so then I returned to the hideout using a car to drive directly through the flooded zone of the map that was very easily passed. And then we find out about tunnels under the island that can help us, when we meet up with a scientist who tells us about the chemicals in said tunnel, that they are called a mutagen that can affect even the immune. But the group uses these tunnels as a minor character named Wayne becomes infected with the mutagen chemical, turning him into an alpha zombie of some kind, and after killing him, which was not easy, we make our way to the docks to secure a ferry across the ocean to Henderson. And this is the part where I'm going to be honest, I stopped playing Dead Island Riptide, as the game was asking me to complete another defend the objective through waves of zombies mission for about the 5th time in its playtime, and I'm only 3 and a bit hours into it. And then I realised that this is no longer stupid fun for me, it's just stupid. I kind of had enough of defending people making loud noises, as my allies did nothing but get in my way whilst I was trying to defend the objective. But I did watch a recap of the story to see if it tied into Dead Island 2 in some way. And of course it didn't really continue into Dead Island 2, as I mentioned before in my previous video. That game was in development hell for about 10 years, so the story probably changed a lot. But here's how Riptide finishes off. As you get to Henderson, you find the military base has also been overrun. And after breaking your way into it, you'll also find out that the representative that you were working with from the World Health Organization is also immune and infects herself with the mutagen to try to stop you from leaving the island, as apparently the corporation want to do research on you or something. I'm a little shaky on why, because obviously I didn't play the game at that part. But after infecting yourself with the mutagen, you are able to defeat her, but it's unknown the effects that the mutagen could have on your body, as the game's final cutscene is the gang sailing away on a boat, with them feeling a little lightheaded but mostly fine, when 6 days later there is a boat seen arriving at a dock, the same boat that they were on, but this time no one is there when the door handle to the lower decks of the boat turns rapidly as the game cuts to black, maybe meaning one of the group was infected. But I mean, we know at least Sam B gets out fine as he arrives in LA for Dead Island 2, so I don't really know what that means for Riptide's ending. Maybe they were just all asleep and the boat hitting the dock woke them up and they quickly went to make sure they weren't sinking, thus the rapid opening of the handle. But as I mentioned, I was unable to complete this game mainly due to just becoming bored with the game, which is pretty disappointing that you make a zombie game with some amazing gore mechanics and I just get kind of bored playing it. Now that could just be maybe I'm not in the right headspace to experience it at the moment, so I'll keep the game installed on Steam for a couple months and see if I magically get the will to defend people making loud noises again. So maybe I'll come back and finish what little part of the story I have left. Who knows? Let's be honest, probably won't. It'll sit on my Steam library till my hard drive for games gets full. I'm like, I need to look at getting a new SSD for games. Then I realised that SSDs cost $1 bajillion and I start looking at games to delete, and that will be one of the first to go probably. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.